Welcome to AutoScon's YouTube channel. My name is Erkki Mikkola, and today we will be talking about Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain Management licensing. I have roughly 20 years of experience around the topic around Dynamics in different roles, so this is quite familiar, and I think it's a good idea that everyone involved in Dynamics would have a bit more in-depth idea on how the licensing works and what it consists of. So this is a brief recap on Dynamics 365 licensing. There are multiple ways to license Dynamics 365 system, but the basics are in the licensing guide. It's quite a hefty document with lots of info. So I tried to sort of give you here the highlights of the basics. It's not a complete presentation of everything in the document, but there's a link in the YouTube description down below, so you can check the document out for yourself. The most common way to license the system is user-based licensing, and you must have 20 base licenses to get the environments up and running, because the environments are part of the licenses as well, or 3 environments are part of the licenses. It's a personal license per user, and even though it's a one unified system, one user might require more than one licensing, meaning that if the user also operates, is basically doing his daily task in finance, he or she needs a finance license. And then if they operate also the supply management side, maybe work something with sales order or purchase orders or that kind of stuff, they might need a supply chain management attached license. And these are sort of priced differently. The base license is the more expensive one, and the attached license has then a lower price tag on it. So it's then cheaper to buy that one. Second option that you might run into is device-based licensing. So in certain cases, if you have a shared device like a point of sales device or something in the warehouse, you might be interested in the device-based licensing model as well. And I have an example coming up on when this licensing model can be used. For some integrations, we do have transaction-based licensing, like if we import sales orders into the system, we can then use the order lines licensing model for that one, and it then has a cost per transaction. The licensing itself isn't rocket science, but it's quite a complex topic, and I think that everyone who is creating a solution needs to understand the impacts of the licensing, because in some cases I bumped into situations where the licensing actually then basically changes the way that the architecture or the roles of the system needs to be built or makes sense to be built, that the license price still stays on a reasonable level. There are 2 ways to purchase Dynamics licenses. There is the CSP model, the cloud solution provider model, where a Microsoft partner sells you the licenses. That model is a bit more flexible, and you see this model more used when the customer company is a bit smaller in size and not that many users. And the other one is the enterprise agreement, where Microsoft directly sells the licenses to the customer. And this is then for bigger customer. It's not as flexible, but then when you're operating directly with Microsoft, then there is the possibility for different kind of pricing options from Microsoft's side when you operate with them directly. So that's the 2 basic ways that you can purchase the licenses. Here as an example, I divided, or I'm showing 3 parts of the system. So it's one unified system, but license-wise, it's split into 3 or more subsections. Commerce is missing in this example to keep it a bit more simple. And we have basically, down below, we have a team member license that gives you basic access and basic viewing rights or viewing rights to all data within all parts of the system. And that sort of cuts, if you have a team member license, you can see all data, basically input your hours and do some limited tasks. And that's also the cheapest license. Then the next level up is the activity-based license, where you have a bit more functions you can work with, but not much usually. At least here in Finland, the activity license is a bit it doesn't have enough power in it so that it actually provides the end user or the user role enough functions to work with. So usually it's quite often it's team member, or then it's gonna be the full price license or the finance license or the supply chain management license. And these are the licenses that give you access to all of these functions and features within that area. And there's also now maybe last year these finance premiums and supply chain management premium licensing came around, and these are then including different kind of AI features and some other new fancy reporting and analytics tools. So there's a new premium level available as well, and the prices go up. The higher you go up these ladders, the pricier the one license gets. And for the project part, there is also then the project operations license then itself. Here's a snip from the license guide where you can see how the different license levels are represented in the licensing guide. So you can see that the team member can create, update, and approve departmental budget plans. But then if you're a budget clerk kind of role, then you need the activity. And if you're a budget manager, then you need the full finance license or finance premiums license. So this is the way that you can, from the licensing guide, look at and evaluate that based on the roles you're having, what kind of license requirements you might have. Here's the list of the device-based licenses. What's the 4 different, let's say, cases where you can use device-based licenses: point of sale, store manager, shop floor, and warehouse device. So these are the cases where you have a lot of people working on the same device, doing the same kind of task, like in the warehouse, like receiving, putting away, picking, packing, that kind of things. And then it doesn't make sense to license everyone in the warehouse because they all are using the same device. So then you can look at the device-based licensing. I also mentioned the transaction-based licensing. This is the current availability of the transaction-based licensing. So most commonly that I've seen is the sales order lines licensing, meaning that we have an outside system where we import sales orders from. So then if you don't use this licensing approach, you basically do the multiplexing requirements. You need to also purchase licenses for the invoicing solution users. But we get the multiplexing in a minute. And here, this is a sort of a bit of an evolving list. I think that it has gotten some additions last year. So maybe in the future we get some more transaction-based licensing models as well, or new entities we can use in this model. If there's one thing I want you to remember is the multiplexing part, because this is something that quite often is overlooked and it's not evaluated properly. So what multiplexing means, that if you have a system that is connected via integration to Dynamics, either we import data or transactions from that system to Dynamics, or we import data from Dynamics to another system, that in quite a few cases then triggers the multiplexing need, where you actually, in the Microsoft license model, you need to purchase licenses also for the users of the connected system. And sometimes this is quite a big surprise. It might not be always directly said by the vendors that, hey, by the way, you need to license also these other users. And therefore, I think it's a good thing to keep this in mind, that when you're looking into Dynamics, look into multiplexing as well, because it can have quite a large impact on the license cost. And if you plan it, of course, if you are purchasing the licenses from the enterprise agreement, then you have the possibility to talk it through with Microsoft and then maybe get a get some sort of a agreement on the topic that the licenses, the model will fit your need. And the common use I see all the time is that we have an invoice approval system outside Dynamics. And there you need the multiplexing data because it uses data from Dynamics, vendor data, and then we import to accounts payable the actual approved vendor invoices. So then we're importing data as well. So that's a clear-cut deal of multiplexing license requirements. So there you need to then be prepared for licensing as well. So if there are 4 things I would like you to remember is that the licensing of Microsoft updates quite often. There are small additions done, not monthly, but maybe quarterly. And some bigger additions come around. You never know when they come around. And the biggest one, let's say the last bigger one was this month, when there it was actually a news that Microsoft will be requiring that the ERP license is allocated to a specific user. Previously, it was more based on trust, that you purchase the correct number of licenses. But in the future, you actually need to allocate the license to a user so that then the admins are able to monitor the number of needed licenses. And also then if there are overruns in licensing, then you see them more easily, and then you can, of course, purchase more licenses from Microsoft. Commerce licensing, I didn't discuss here. It's a different bit between brick and mortar and e-com because the solution scope in there is a bit different, and the way the licenses are calculated is then different case by case. Maybe later on I'll do an episode on the e-com licensing as well. When new features come around, make sure to check, is it separately licensed? Some new features aren't separately licensed, so they are included in the supply chain management license or the supply chain management premium license or that kind of thing. But some features like demand planning can have a separate license cost there as well. And some licenses are then, the price depends on the data volumes. Like asset management, I'm not meaning fixed asset management, but sort of a maintenance asset management. There are some number of assets included, but if you do run a large maintenance operation, then most likely you need to purchase additional licensing in the asset management as well. Thank you for watching. And this was the first full-length video done in English. I hope you liked it. If you did like it, please leave a like or subscribe to the channel. And also any comments on LinkedIn or in the YouTube are highly appreciated. And if you have certain aspects of Dynamics or the ERP world that you're interested of hearing more about, just give me a message, and I'll see if I can help you out with that topic. Okay, thanks for this, and until next time, bye.